good morning. Welcome to this lovely day, the 18th day of August 2025. Welcome to Good Morning Anambra. My name is Ajulu Chukwokabwe.
And my name is Nonya Nwokwe. It's so good to have you on the show this morning. You're welcome.
As the tradition here, we'll be beginning our newspaper review after this short time out. Don't go anywhere. The show is about to begin.
All right, it's press review, and here on press review, we'll tell you or let you know the trending stories around the nation. And we'll begin with taking a look at some of the stories making the headlines on ABS website. And Soludo receives Anambra South Senator-elect Nwachukwu louts INEC for credible by-elections. By-election, Anambra State Assembly Speaker Udeze felicitates Nwachukwu Azikiwe for victories at polls. Anambra State government trains newly recruited personnel of Ocha Brigade. FG issues new guidelines on PPP. Alaska Summit, Russian President Putin agrees to US EU protection proposal for Ukraine. EPL, Crystal Palace hold Chelsea 0-0 at Stamford Bridge. And again, EPL 72-year-old Brighton supporter dies during match with Fulham. Wow.
Quite an unfortunate incident. That's to tell you that anything can happen at any time. And that's the rundown of the news making rounds on ABS website. And quickly, let's begin to delve into the just concluded by-elections that we had in Anambra South local senatorial district. And we saw, well, for the governor to come out and be commending INEC for that, but that's not the same stories we are getting from other feelers, you understand? But then that's going to be something we might really, talk in depth about. Let's feel the pulse of other people, not just at our discussion segment. So to talk about it more. Quickly, let's see. Anambra State government trains newly recruited personnel of Ocha Brigade. Well, this is quite laudable. When this training of Ocha Brigade, ATMA, and most of these government agencies, I think they should bring in psychologists to be part of those their training, because these are the face of the government representation. That's when you talk about government serving the people. These are the faces that you see. Ocha Brigade, Hubert, ATMA. There should be a psychologist, because most times these people have this attitude of the moment they are just adorned on that uniform, they just feel that they are above.
Well, let's thank God that training has commenced in earnest, because training and retraining of staff
is very, very important.
Now, it can never be overemphasized in any establishment, any environment where we find ourselves, even in homes. These are people, just like you said, that they are government workers, so to speak. When they go out there, they are representatives,
should be mirroring the image of the government. Yeah.
Image makers of the government that sent them to do this job. So I think the need to train them and, know basic areas. This is just the starting. Let's just believe that more trainings will come for them in due time.
Okay, and thank you so much on that. And quickly, let's begin our first paper for review this morning, and then we shall be seeing the banner headline on Daily Times, and that's the first paper for review this morning. Nigeria needs 22% annual growth to achieve $1 trillion economy by 2030. That's coming from Noreen Beja. 2030 is just
around the corner.
5 years away. And let's believe that we can actually get there based on these projections. Also, we have there, still there, by-elections, mockery of democracy, rehearsal for 2027 election. That's coming from Labour Party. And also we have here Shetima Mons, Emir of Zulu. That you can find on page 6 of the Daily Times newspaper. Tinubu appoints Okpeyemi Agbaje, Pencom chairman, as Pencom assets hit 24 trillion naira. Also here we have private sector credit falls by 1.69 trillion naira to 76.14 trillion naira in June. The full story of that you get on page 12 this morning on Daily Times newspaper. Also, rice production. Farmers blame high price on cartel middlemen. Wow, there is nothing you can find having cartel middlemen, unnecessary bureaucracy, and now talking about rice, when government is investing hugely into rice production. If China, with a population of over 1 billion, can be self-sufficient when it has to do with rice production, we're not talking about other food. The same thing, India. What's stopping Nigeria? The highest, or rather the largest population in sub-Saharan Africa. Not just rice, but other production.
There's this saying, remember when Jesus said something that you will always have the poor in your midst.
Yeah,
it's not just the poor. So talking about having cartels here and there or having middlemen here and there, I think there's this adage in Igbo, or something like that. So we definitely see pockets of things that are not normal here and there. And of course, at this point, we'd like to appreciate your coming this morning on the show. Ololo Samuel, thank you so much for joining us. But let's quickly take a look at the Punch newspaper before you comment on any issue now. All right, looking at the Punch newspaper this morning, we have workers' compensation. FG backtracks as NLC holds ground. NST ITF moves to avert strike, says AGF will refund workers. NLC leaders meet. APC opposition clash over by-election results in 12 states. Shipping crisis delays Dangote's 3,550 CNG trucks. And of course, Nigeria deports 42 convicted Chinese, Philippine cyber criminals. NNPC resumes Israeli pilgrimage with 50% subsidy. 2 Nigerians die of suspected poisoning in Libya. ICRC issues new PPP guidelines for MDAs. Right court orders full disclosure of 37 billion naira renovation by the National Assembly. A lot of stories, this morning on the pages of the paper. So which one? Do we start with the probing?
All right. Let's just quickly go about the NLC and federal government conversation. Why I'm interested in that is I remembered earlier when we were hearing about minimum wage, welfare of workers, and the likes of it. The federal government was boasting to have increased reasonably, in their words, from 30,000 plus to 77,000, and they tried to calculate the percentage increase. But why I'm scared, not just for the workers, but for Nigeria in general, not trying to be pessimistic really, is that we are still in a country where, unfortunately, we lost a young lad, a lady, to what is it called now? Kidney failure. So it got me thinking that regardless of the analysis that we have given over time, that 77,000 naira cannot even, can barely buy a bag of rice. So what happens to a family? Of course, sickness is not being planned that meets this kind of challenges, ill health. What happens to them? And we are now faced in a system that is overstressed, healthcare wise. Yeah, if you call on the government, they will tell you that they have their health insurance program both at the state and at the federal level.
One of the market women.
Which is good. Well, so even the health insurance level covers both the informal and the formal sectors.
For the state.
Yeah, for the state. Yeah. So the market women are also encouraged to enroll. But my fear is many of these insurance programs are only for little ailments. They are yet to begin to take care of serious and life-threatening challenges. So, and I think that is, so government should begin to see the reactions of the citizens, not as an attack, but real-time information that is presented before them that should inform the policies that they are making and review their policies. So every time NLC and FG going loggerhead, I don't think it's wise.
But Ololo, what do you think is really happening to this country that we cannot take a cue to all these developed nations where we go to and see how things are done there? And we have relatives that stay there. None of them complains of what we are complaining here. They are not, some of them are not citizens of those countries where they are, but the way things, the system works there, what stops our own system from working the same way?
Well, nothing stops us other than the people in there, whether we have tried enough or we have tried our best or whatever we want to say. It is just the people and the ideology of the people. Now, what I mean by this is, over time, remember there was a time in this country we had the ideology of share the money, national cake. That was what was reigning then. From national cake, share the money, we were now told that the corruption is too much, that there is need to actually control the corruption and the likes of it all. That gave us to a change, a significant shift to a new political party. And unfortunately, we now left the era of corruption, even though it's still happening, and then sharing the money to people who are now cronies. I mean, their own system of government is amongst themselves. Now, that is why I fear with the ideology of Nigeria in a way that whenever you complain, you are now being taken as people at the other side. Nobody even tends to look at what you are complaining, even though some people who are even fighting you are also experiencing that same issue that you are complaining of. But because they have taken a political position, they seem to just want to wish it away, pretending that it's going to get well. How would it get well when we as a people have not started coming together to demand good governance and accountability from our leaders? So I think that is why, because if it is in the other climes, I mean, you see some of their leaders resigning from office just because their own children did something that is unheard of. But here, we stay for 4 years, and let us also make it clear that it is not God's given right that anybody must stay even beyond his tenure. We're not talking of because you are there 4 years, then you must go 8 years. It is not. Constitutionally, you're allowed to be there 4 years. And then the Constitution even provides
that can equally happen.
Exactly. And Constitution even provides that there are some infractions the person can commit, and the person would leave. So Constitution also admits that it's not even a must that you stay there for that complete 4 years. So I think we as citizens need to have that common purpose, unity of purpose, to begin to demand our rights. And when they're not giving us what we want, those basics, healthcare, education, better lifestyle. I mean, we know no average man can even boast of having a house. No average man can boast of having a car if reasonably you are not corrupt, if reasonably you are not stealing the money. Some people will now want to go extra miles to begin to do money laundering and the likes of it. And yes, digital business are there to give people money, but must everybody go towards that route to make money? What of the bricklayers? What of the market women? Don't they deserve to also build houses?
Okay, they deserve to build houses too, Ololo, as you're saying. But then, in the next paper we shall be reviewing this morning, that we can also tell you that the rich also cry. The endless trial of Colonel Sambo Dasuki, retired. That's coming from former NSA. What do we do with this young man's case? Anxiety mounts over EFCC's arrest of opposition figures. And then we have there as a banner headline, drug tests in schools under lens as narcotics war spreads. Well, when you test the students, I think you should equally test the teachers too. Stay off presidential race, Nigerians advise Jonathan, say former president shouldn't taint his good record. And then we are also seeing here, insists politicians are prodding him for personal interest. Well, Nigerians don't even need to tell Jonathan what to do. I believe he's old enough to, to know what to do. But before we get to Jonathan and then his political romancing, you understand, again, talking about 2027, what do you have to say about drug tests in schools under the lens as narcotics war spreads? My own suggestion would have been, what is NDLA doing trying to stop the infiltration of these drugs into the country before we now begin to spend billions in arranging tests at different schools across board? Samuel.
Thank you very much. I think it is very, very important for us as a people to even look at the root cause of some of these issues. So as a society, as a country, and as a people, we have lost the basics of life. And we have embraced a life where anything goes. Some people will say the anyhowness of Nigeria. And it's so unfortunate and so alarming that some of the people who are perpetrators of this evil do it right under our nose, right to our faces, to spite us. What would you do? You see someone who, let me not say, we cannot tell where he got his money from. He buys a car and he's filming himself, which he will post in social media, giving dollars and giving bundles of money to the police, and the police is guiding him. Sometimes amongst his peers, he's throwing the money and people are rushing to pick the money. And it makes even the ordinary students, ordinarily within that age, 18, okay, now let's say 16 to even 30 and even higher, you always feel with uncertainties because you are still trying to figure out your life. You think things are not working out well. You have your dreams. You cannot match your dreams with the realities before you. And at that point, someone can easily be cajoled into drugs. And especially where we have been told that a lot of persons, even those that are in political office now, push these drugs. So they can easily embrace it as a means to life, because be in that midst of confusion and all whatnot, they've now seen that if I can push this drug, or if I can embrace, if I can do this, it means I can begin to live like Mr. A or Mr. B, who was spreading money and then was being celebrated. Let's not forget that an average human being wants to be celebrated. An average human being wants to be respected. So if they now see that this is a means to embrace that kind of lifestyle, of course they will go. And the unfortunate thing now is these children at secondary schools, now let's say even universities, we have been embracing that. These are where people want to target. They are soft spots because they have the energy, sometimes they have the intelligence. So some of these drug pushers would want to use them as means because they want to hide their names, they want to hide their identity. Sometimes they don't even have the time and the energy to do it. So they can easily co-opt these little children just as a decoy. So why it is good to begin to test these children, identify them, cancel them, that also brings me up to another point that even in our secondary school, in our schools, even in primary school, the roles of our guardians and counselors, how many schools even have them now? I think this is an opportunity for every school to see that there are importance to all these things. The guardians and counselors, or the guardian and counseling unit should be up and doing. Monitor every child that does not, that you don't see in class for 2-3 consecutive times. You follow up, ask them questions, and know what is happening. I mean, this is a way of actually having a sane society.
I just pray we will get to that level, honestly.
Yeah, still talking about a way. Don't you think that NDLA, in their own part, have relegated their responsibility into making sure that drug doesn't find its way into Nigeria, then the distribution channels getting to schools and the rest of it all? To me, this is more like not even doing your work, because one of your primary assignments of the NDLA is to make sure that drugs don't even come into Nigeria. And now you're not talking about, okay, fine, it comes into Nigeria, it's affecting our youth. Now let's start establishing tests in schools. To me, it means that you guys are failing in your primary duty. Because now they will quote you trillions of naira that they will use in setting these drug laboratories, centers across board, when you've not even done your primary assignment of making. You want to tell me that NDLA don't know the kingpins of this drug pushers?
Ajul, I think you seem to have forgotten that you're in Nigeria.
I'm in Nigeria,
and a lot of things have really gone haywire in this country. The truth of the matter is, I don't really know. Most times you see beautiful policies on the pages of papers, just like the one they are trying to probe, 30-something billion naira renovation, you know. You see so many beautiful, at the end of the day, you will never see a follow-up to that story. It will just end like that. So one begins to wonder, what kind of a nation are we really operating? If we continue like this, where do we hope to see ourselves?
Because we are having the wrong people in power. We are having the wrong people trying to implement all those policies that you're talking about. The NDLA have not gone to motor parks to be testing drivers that are driving, that are conveying people on a daily basis. You're taking it to school, where you see where they sell the drugs, live and direct, there in the parks. To me, this is just somebody abdicating his responsibility and chasing shadows.
All right,
well,
I think it may form a very good topic for another day. Let's quickly go to this day newspaper and see some of the stories making their headlines. Zenith Bank marks 35th anniversary, recognizes pioneer customers and long-serving staff. This day, DSS gets kudos over recent major breakthroughs in fight against insecurity. Bago Nega Murik applaud Ajayi-led secret police. By-elections result, APC sweeps 12 constituencies. APGA 2, PDP 1, NNPP 1. Elated Tinubu rejoices, hails INEC for hit-free polls, commends electorate for voting APC. Victory is endorsement of the president, ruling party boasts. ADC alleges intimidation, corruption. LP says it's mockery of democracy, travesty of justice. PDP chief dismisses exercise as fraud. Now on Tinubu Atiku Bago, David Mark rejoiced with ex-military leader IBB at 84. Wow, that's a milestone. All right, let's quickly take a look at this stories and see how we,
well, first of all, I would say happy birthday to IBB. 84 years is not 84 days, neither is it 84 months. They are still alive, saying, and I think they would be imagining what they would have done better when they were in power. And it's unfortunate that even those who are full of life currently, to a reasonable extent, seem to also forget that power is transient. And at every opportunity you have, you need to use it to improve the well-being of your citizens, because to get to a time where you will begin to live in regrets and what should have been done better, even though you might want to pat yourself of what you have done and the gains you have made. And this is leading me back to the by-election that was conducted on Saturday. For me, it's of course the hallmark of it is the display of shame between the deputy governor of Anambra State and Ukachukwu, the APC governorship aspirant. That shouldn't have even happened in the first place. If we have an institution, nothing concerns individuals beginning to lock horns and then beginning to look for superiority on what happens. So what happens to the citizens themselves?
Looking at them.
So one thing that they are trying to make us understand, which we might argue, is it INEC's fault? What is the role of the police? And the funny thing is, this was happening and the police were even there, standing, looking at them. It now makes me begin to imagine the kind of policing, the training that they have got, the ideology, what they are expected to do. I mean, this should have just been controlled with mere communication from above. Don't do this, don't do that. And they go into power, they go into to exercise their roles. But guiding and looking at them doing what they are doing is just a shame. That is one. And then we're also looking at what we call the travesty of the elections. And it's fear, we are afraid for this not to be our reality going into a dual election next year, or should election next year,
subsequent elections,
and then the national election. I think we don't seem to learn, because everybody, as we speak, is just preparing war on how to gather,
grab it, snatch it, and run with it.
And on that ground, people will continue to get disenfranchised. For goodness sake, if we do a good contest and somebody wins, the person who lose or who lost in the game can congratulate the other man and support. But if it is where you had to muzzle it out, you find out that the person will pull out, his own followers will pull out, and the country will continue to fail. So I don't know why these things are happening. They are complaining that Nigeria is difficult to govern. They are complaining that the citizens are insulting them, but they are still going in there to receive more insults. Now, the governor,
or even insulting themselves.
The governor of Ebonyi State, of all the problems that he has to solve in Ebonyi State, it is social media and social media is causing problems, that the president should look into it. He has not said the president should look into out-of-school children that is in his state. He has not said the president should look into the hunger, the starvation, the poverty that the citizens are facing. But his problem is the social media to gag the people. I don't understand why these things are happening. Once again, it's unfortunate that these things happen. We seem not to learn from it. We tend to talk only about it. It's high time we begin to get more serious as a people, because it is not only affecting our lives as the youth, it's also affecting the coming children who are also in this mess. And
of course, it boils down to the adage, people are watching. These are people that are supposed to be image makers or models for the younger generations.
Exactly.
But let's move on to the next paper.
Yeah, the last paper, while we'll continue to talk about, the next paper, while we'll continue to talk about what's happening in our country. That's the Guardian newspaper. Let's begin with stories on the mast of the Guardian. We have Serap seeks probe of pay to present motions bills claim. Okay, we also have Alausa. We are bringing Nigeria's out of school kids back to the classroom. Also, we have replacing Tinubu with Jonathan, not solution, but system overhaul, says Dele Faturimi. And then we have here over 10 banks, insurers risk forced merger in race for new capital. COAS reshuffles appoint new PSOs, GOCs, other commanders. Kebbi government announces Zuru's monarch passing in London hospital. Wow, London seems to be the grave, or rather the hospital where things are happening. By elections, opposition's fragility exposed as APC tightens hold with 12 of 16 seats. Pensioners deserve a duty of care and prompt payment. Afe Babalala converses better education sector to check insecurity. That you'll find on page 7. EFCC NIS deport 42 cyber criminals, 150 to follow. Really? That's all we have for you on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Quickly, let's take the Daily Trust together because of want of time. By elections, parties maintain strongholds. And then we have many traders feared dead in Sokoto boat mishap. Eulogists as Emir of Zuru dies at 81. And also we have 109 senators pay enough for 4,708 professors' salaries. That's all we have for you on the Daily Trust newspaper.
All right.
Oh, okay. There's still the by-election. APC claiming to tighten their grip. Well, that is what it seems. But let's not forget that Nigerians are still forming their ideology, and it will be foolhardy, even though when you mark your wins. So that is the travesty of the nation called Nigeria. A lot of things are never predicted. So it's unfortunate that we have been made to believe that when one person makes a pronouncement, we must all follow it. And it's on that ground that you see governors leaning to the center. You see House of Assembly members, House of Rep members, Senate members, people who ordinarily are immune, who ordinarily have their clear-cut responsibilities, even to the extent that you see the judiciary also dancing to the tune of those at the helm of affairs. And that is why I agree with Dele Farotimi when he said it is not about the current president, President Tinubu, leaving office to be replaced by even Peter Obi or to be replaced by Goodluck Jonathan. It is not about that. It is about a complete system overhaul. We want a system where, why should, even in the local government, and that is one of the research or survey we are conducting, can a citizen easily walk to the local government, see the local government chairman, discuss their problems? Even if you don't have a problem, you have a vision, you have a goal, you have a business proposal. Can a citizen easily go there, present it to them, and they walk him through towards how to make it possible?
And,
so
what equally happened to town hall meetings?
So these are the questions we should be asking. So beyond, that is where, and when they say any governor is working, these are the things we should look out for. An independent citizen who is not a political party flag bearer or whatever, having unfettered access to the resources of the state, are so controlled by the governor in a way that you can also achieve your own aspirations. It's so unfortunate now that if you go to other climes, you see people crisscrossing, they are leaving this country to this other country, from Netherlands they are going to Scotland, and with those kind of movements, it's coming with another level of experience and exposure and growth, giving them the tendency to explore. But for us, we can even barely travel from Anambra State to Lagos, or from Anambra State to Abuja because of the cost. If you are traveling with your family, you have to pay through your nose for it. So it's just better for you to remain at a place. Even local transport is out of way. And how much more than saying you are traveling from Nigeria to Ghana to even do peer learning or peer review what your youths are, what other youths are doing there, so that you can bring it back. So we are just so much caged, and it's not good for us as a people. What Nigeria is succeeding in doing is, a man would be born, he would stay 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years of his life, based on when, unfortunately, insecurity and sickness and then the nature meets up with him. He just lives that life, achieving nothing.
All right, let's quickly look at the last two papers before we begin to wrap up the show. The Nigerian Tribune and, of course, the Blueprint. By-elections, APC consolidates ahead of 2027 race, wins big in Kano. Adamawa Soludo's shows strength in Anambra. PDP wins on your rep seat, first time in 18 years. ADC humbled in Anambra. APC, NNP, PP maintain rivalry in Kano. PDP in dire strait in Edo. Zamfara poll declared inconclusive. Our election process has deteriorated under Tinubu. ADC alleges results are a vote of confidence in Tinubu party. APC speaking. Shake-up in army. COS redeploys top generals. Cyber criminals, EFCC, immigration deport dozens of Chinese Filipinos. And of course, caffeine can reduce effectiveness of certain antibiotics, studies suggest. And of course, let's quickly take a look at the blueprint before we begin to wrap up the show. By-elections, APC's emphatic victory in 12 states, sign of Yilwa today's capacity. Tinubu speaking, party one more seat to steal 2-3 majority in Senate. Abga increases to 2. Now, Tinubu, Northern governors orders mourn Emir of Zuru's demise at 81. NIMET forecast 3-day rain, thunderstorms nationwide. 21 communities hit by floods in Portiskum, says NEMA. And I think this people should watch out. So
the last paper for review is the authority. The authority. Let's see what we have there before we now wrap it up. Track and trace project. Federal government stakeholders on warpath. Swiss firm rejected for violating competitive bidding. And also we have here, INEC declares Zamfara by-elections inconclusive. 2027, Yakasi, Gauna Church supports to publicize Tinubu's achievement. Spring FCDO, Livestock Ministry, train government, media on conflict-sensitive communications. And we have Southeast IGP Egbetokun reviews Amnesty International report on alleged extrajudicial killings, human rights violations. And we have NDLEA down here, drug kickpin in Delta intercept 7.8 billion naira worth of opioids in Rivers. ABGA candidate wins Anambra South senatorial by-elections to replace Ifeanyi Uba. Group Lords NSA for confirming DSS capture of terrorist groups. And then we have NCC telecoms reforms to unlock $1 billion investment in network expansion and upgrade. That's all we have for you on the front page of the Authority newspaper this morning. Quickly, let's see what the Guardian is talking about. Over 10 banks, insurers risk forced merger in race, for new capital. What do you have to say about that?
Sorry?
The 10 banks risking insurers risk in this new recapitalization that the banking industry is about to.
Oh, okay. The reform of the CBN. Well, I think so. Ordinarily, what this should achieve is to gain the confidence of both investors and the citizens who have money in this bank. Let's not forget where we are coming from, where in the past we have banks just fold up just like that, and then they liquidate with people's currencies and people's money and life savings until the 20 billion cap with CBN for bank policy came up. That strengthened the banks. So for now, I think what banks actually need to do is they are allowed to merge. This continues to strengthen the financial institution of the country, both building investors' confidence and making the citizens understand that their resources or their money are actually safe. But beyond that, it's unfortunate that we tried making a transaction in one of these banks. I would not call the name because of how sensitive it is. In one of the banks, it was last 2 weeks Friday that we sent the payment schedule. As we speak till now, it has not been processed. What they are telling us is their workers, one is on leave, one is sick. Just that was the story we had throughout last week. And we hear banks always recording success stories, recording profits. But the workforce, the workers, either their welfare is not being taken care of enough or they are retrenching workers. So why the central bank is doing this to ensure that insurance-wise and even capitalization of the banks are strong? I also think, who are the people that even make up these institutions? It's not the people. So while the institutions are being strengthened, the workers should also be taken care of. I mean, there should be a minimum that a bank must have, and not just leaving it at the hands of the MDs. Another conversation that we should have is, when the banking system in Nigeria started, there used to be things that we call direct staff, the bank employing directly. But now, as we speak, many of the banks have relegated those responsibilities to agencies. And if you check well, those agencies are owned by either them or their proxies or wherever. And they now pay the money to those agencies, and the agencies pay peanuts to the bank. This is still happening amidst of what CBN is talking about, insurance strengthening, capitalization strengthening. Why don't they also look into these other areas? I think what we should be doing as a people is, what would improve the welfare of the citizens? What would improve the dignity of the citizens? And that is why government is there, to ensure that they not only make policies that promote that, but they hold onto it so that the citizens can have that assurance that they are well protected by their government.
And this is for a government that wants to hit $1 trillion economy by 2030, and then they will still having this issue. Now, still talking about hitting that $1 trillion economy. Shake up in military, COAS redeployed top generals. Is that going to bring an end, or probably maybe in some way reduce the insecurity?
To the barest minimum.
Yeah, this insecurity we are having ravaging every part of Nigeria. Do you think replacing or redeploying these top brass military generals and commanders is the solution?
Is it even the first time of reshuffling?
Exactly, this is not the first time this is happening. Ordinarily, when people begin to experience fatigue, the best thing to do is to do this kind of reshuffling, so that new blood.
Experience fatigue, but the people that you're fighting against don't even experience such fatigue, and you're better trained.
These are the issues. So the complexities of Nigeria is, and that is why, as a people, we must get it right. We must have leaders who their mind are in the right places, because some of the even after the reshuffling and the boys in the field, that is our security officers or personnel in the field that are fighting, are still complaining that the weapon that they are fighting is always overpowered by that of the whoever
actors,
of the non-state actors. So what would the reshuffling actually do? What would the reshuffling do if these boys are also still complaining that their welfare is not being taken care of? The police, the military service chief that have retired, what happens to their pension and the likes of it. Even those in active service that have died, what is the government's plan to take care of them and the family that they are leaving behind? These are the things that we are looking at. And that's why when we are calling on system overhaul, these are the things we are looking at, not just the individuals, because we will continue to. It's just like a man who has a broken fracture and the bandage, a broken bone, a fractured bone. The bandage that was used to hold the bone got dirty. He just removed it, and you're not treating it. You're just using only bandage. I wonder if the bone would actually get healed.
All right, we can actually go on and on. Nigeria actually is a great nation with great people. Around the world, globally, you see Nigerians making waves in most parts of the world. But back home, with all our beautiful policies, programs we draw out most times, at the end of the day, nothing seems to be happening. But we keep hope alive, because this is our nation. We have no other country to call our own, and hoping that it gets better. This is actually where we are wrapping up for the press review for this morning. We'd like to thank you so much, Ololo, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Next is our discussion segment. Do sit tight. We'll be back in a jiffy.